Hello, first generation students, families, supporters, and friends, and welcome to First Generation Family Orientation 2021. Brought to you by Living Learning Communities, the Office of Undergraduate Education, and First Generation Student Programs. My name is Derek Jackson, and I am the Program Specialist for the Office of Undergraduate Education and UT Dallas alumnus and First Generation College graduate. This year is a very special year for me. 10 years ago to this very month that this airs, I took my first steps at UT Dallas as a freshman. For the past 10 years, I've been a student and now a working professional here at UT Dallas, and it is my pleasure to be your host for this presentation. You can enable closed captioning here on YouTube by clicking on the CC button at the bottom right of your screen. Once you click that, you can auto-translate all of the audio during this presentation into your preferred language. With that, welcome to the program, and let me show you around UT Dallas and introduce you to some of my colleagues. Welcome to the Founders Building here at UT Dallas, named so because it was one of the first building erected here at UT Dallas. This is also the home of a key component of the Office of Undergraduate Education, our Dean Suite, Dr. Jessica Murphy, our Senior Associate Dean, Dr. Courtney Burkeen, and me, Derek Jackson, your virtual host here and Program Specialist for First Generation Student Programs. I would now like to turn it over to Dr. Courtney Burkeen, who is going to outline the program today and offer some words of support and tips for both first generation students and their families. Courtney?
Hi, I'm Dr. Courtney Burkeen, the Senior Associate Dean in the Office of Undergraduate Education and First Generation College graduate. Before we get into our conversations and presentations with our first generation student supporters from across campus, I want to provide a quick overview of today's content. First, I will share some cultural insights about UT Dallas and what you and your student can expect during your journey. Then, Derek will share more about the types of programming we offer exclusively to first generation students, and he will introduce Dean Murphy. The bulk of our content is important first generation family resources from our campus partners, which includes everyone from financial aid and the bursar to the Student Success Center and academic advising. While we know it is a lot to listen to, we hope you find it valuable, and most importantly, I hope you feel welcomed to the Comet family. Now, as I mentioned, Derek and I thought it would be valuable for me to share some insights about our campus culture and what your student might experience. UT Dallas publicly talks a lot about rankings, low student debt, the high quality of our students, research, and value. There are many reasons why we attract highly motivated students like yours. They often come in with a clear set of expectations of what they hope to achieve and how they will achieve it. Our culture is a good fit for that type of student. We are often not the last stop for our undergraduates. During their time here, they innovate and prepare for the next stages of their lives, which in many cases includes going into positions above entry level, enrolling in graduate or professional school. While this makes my work fun because we get to see great students achieve greatness, it can add additional pressures on your student to be perfect or the best. And we sometimes hear from our students, it can feel like they are competing with each other. This can make them feel like a failure if they do not perceive themselves as good as their peers, which is untrue. So staying positive and not stressed requires good habits early and willingness to recognize when to change behaviors, reach out, and identify a campus resource for support. And that's where you and our team come in. As you can see, I selected a few images of what our students do and what they perceive all of their peers are doing, and not only doing it, but many of our students assume that students participating in competitive programs, winning competitions, and earning high grades, it comes easily to everyone. And sometimes they think it comes easier to everyone but them. However, in reality, the iceberg. Every student I have ever worked with has experienced what you see here. In my programs, I've engaged thousands of students and I have personally worked with hundreds. Sometimes it feels like I write hundreds of letters of recommendation, so don't let it fool you. While it might seem that students earn the highest possible GPA of 4.0 easily, That is not true in every semester of their career, and they all have really rich stories when they finish at UT Dallas. I have never met a student who has had no worries. So while people may only see accomplishments, there are a lot of other things going on beneath the surface for many, if not all, of our students. If you notice hygiene issues, if they avoid conversations about grades or friends, and ask why it's hard to get details, recommend that they meet with us. If you maybe notice they've worn the same pajama pants for 3 straight days, that could be a sign of stress. So please ask about what they're worried about or refer them to the counseling center. If your student only talks about going to classes, and faculty, or only talks about socializing and joining clubs, make sure they have a good balance and are doing well in both areas and not too much too soon in just one. New friendships and activities on campus, and even studying, internships, or doing research can seem threatening or unnecessary because it might keep them online or away from home more or out of class more. But those relationships and experiences are so valuable. Any of those activities could actually contribute to better job prospects, which might mean more money right out of school. So show your excitement about their engagement. Okay, so next, a few final reminders before we get started with really wonderful content from all of our campus partners. Expect changes in your student as a person and possibly in their career goals or major. Most important thing is do not panic. As Dean Murphy will say, trust the process. Instead, encourage all of these wonderful changes because they already want to make you proud. So, fear of disappointing you can also cause additional stress. Remember, the goal is for your student to be independent and happy after graduation, regardless of their major or chosen career. We offer special advising for students who want to be lawyers or go into medicine, and we have a wonderful career center that can help students understand their job options. Refer to us. I don't want to brag, but we know it all. Just kidding. Well, partially kidding, because if we don't know the answer, we can connect you and your student to a first generation student supporter who does know what the answer or what you need, so you and your student do not have to navigate getting answers alone. The font displayed is just a little tiny, but that's just to illustrate the long, long list of resources our amazing campus has to offer you and your student. And if you refer your student to us, we can connect them to individuals in all of those important areas. So, I had talked about the stress and pressures that a high achieving campus can cause, but one of the benefits of our campus culture is that there's no negative stigma to taking advantage of people and programs. Your student may assume that no one is asking faculty questions, using the Student Success Center, going to the Counseling Center, or reaching out to us. And I can say that confidently as someone who sees the list of hundreds of students, and in some departments' cases, thousands of students who use those services. Our students want to succeed and do really well after graduation, which means that most are doing whatever it takes without hesitation to make sure that they accomplish that. So please help us make sure that your student does so as well. Basically, we are here for you and your student.
So at this point, you might be wondering, well, what exactly is first generation student programs? Like, what do we do? Well, first generation student programs provides centralized, comprehensive programming for first generation students and their families here at UT Dallas. Working together with our fantastic first generation student support network, we provide information sessions for various resources here on campus. Our first generation students get to meet and greet and receive mentorship from the first generation student support network. We provide streamed and recorded content just like today's family orientation right here on our First Generation Comet's YouTube channel, as well as other platforms like Microsoft Teams and e-learning. We provide service events like our Viva Volunteer event, which is our grand volunteer service event provided through the Office of Student Volunteerism. And we have legacy projects to support our first generation students, including our growing jargon dictionary and, of course, our growing YouTube channel here, First Generation Comments, right here on YouTube. And if there are any Instagram users in the audience today, do give us a follow at UT Dallas First Gens. At the time this is airing here on First Generation Comments YouTube channel, we are so close to 400 followers on Instagram. As we go through the program today, I'd like to remind everyone to keep a couple things in mind. Number one, I want everyone to know that being first gen is pretty awesome. We are the first in our families to do such an amazing thing. And the second thing is we have so much support. Our families play such a key role in our success as college students, and we absolutely would not be here without them. So I want to take a moment to thank every single family member that's watching today. And so, with that in mind, enjoy the adventure because it is going to be awesome. Now, I want you to meet some great people. I would now like to introduce everyone to Dr. Jessica Murphy, the Dean of Undergraduate Education here at UT Dallas and fellow first generation college graduate who has some tips and words of support for our incoming first generation students and their families. Check it out.
Hello, I'm Jessica Murphy. I am the Dean of Undergraduate Education here at the University of Texas at Dallas. It is a great pleasure to welcome you to the UT Dallas family. I have been asked to share a few of my tips with you today. Tips for families on supporting their first generation college student. This is from my own experience as a first generation college student, as well as our experience working with students and their families towards success. So the first piece of advice I'd give you is to trust your student. Your student is extremely smart and extremely talented and has many, many things that they are bringing to the UT Dallas community. They have earned their place at UT Dallas and they will do well here. Give them the time and the space to show you that. Trust us. We are here for them. If you are worried, reach out to us, our team, at ugdean@utdallas.edu or 972-883-6706. We'll provide that information for you, but ugdean@utdallas is the best way to get to us. And trust the process. A four-year college degree is worth your students' investment of energy, time, and other resources. So the time and the space to do the learning required to be successful in the college environment, all of that is worthwhile. And finally, trust the resources that we have for you. Our office provides links to different resources for your student and for you. One such resource is called the Jargon Dictionary. So in higher ed, we have this term hidden curriculum. These are the unintended lessons that people learn throughout their college career. But often some people have learned some of these already. And so it can seem like everybody knows something you do not know. So for example, if you see on a professor's syllabus that they'd like you to come to office hours, I have a tip for you. That is not only when you don't understand the material or you're struggling with an idea, though certainly then is a good time to talk to them as well. It can be when you're excited by a concept that you're studying or you're interested in learning more about your professor's career path and maybe you're interested in exploring such a career yourself. It is okay to use office hours to go and talk to your instructor. They will often give you ways to reach out to them, and that is all on the syllabus. The Jargon Dictionary was put together in collaboration with a number of students, so it has great advice for you and understanding some of the processes and offices across campus. I look forward to meeting your student and maybe you too as well one day. And I am glad that you've chosen us here at UT Dallas. Thank you.
Of course, everyone, the easiest way to stay informed on all the goings on with first generation student programs is to check your email and check it often. We send out weekly emails communicating events and resources available to both first generation students and their families. In addition to that, all first generation students will be added to our e-learning group where you can hear from your peers, watch videos, and stay up to date on all things first generation students. I'm now inside the Student Services building here at UT Dallas, which I remember being the third building that I went into when I first arrived at UT Dallas, right after my dorm and the dining hall. The Student Services building is home to two incredibly important offices. Our financial aid office, which our financial aid counselors can be found here on the first floor, and right above me is the bursar, where students will be dealing with our colleagues as they process bills and tuition payments and so on and so forth. Dr. Courtney Burkeen sat down with both the financial aid office and the bursar's office to give you some more insight into how these two offices work. Check it out.
I'm now here with one of our first generation student supporters from the Office of Financial Aid, and I will let her introduce herself and a little bit about her role.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Metz. I am the supervisor of the counseling team here at UT Dallas in the financial aid office. So my team, along with the customer service team, is who you get when you call in to ask questions, email us. When we're able to see students, we're the ones you're seeing.
That's perfect. That's such a valuable role. So tell us a little bit about, in general terms, kind of about all the services offered in the Office of Financial Aid.
Sure. So we handle all of the federal and state financial aid. So if you're applying for FAFSA or TASFA, we're the ones who kind of help you through that process and make sure that you're getting all of the aid that you're eligible to receive. We also do verification. So there's times where you need to submit documentation to our office. So we'll verify all of the information that's on those FAFSA and TASFA applications. We have a part of our department that works specifically with veteran benefits, and we kind of like house all of the scholarships. While we don't offer the scholarships, we are the ones who provide you access to that scholarship list, which is posted on our website, give you the access to the school's scholarship web pages as well, and then we're the ones who are actually adding those onto your account to make sure that everything's there properly.
Yeah, that was a really great summary. It is true that when I tell students, "Oh, have you met with your financial aid counselor?" They're like, "What?" And it seems too good to be true that every student and basically in kind of every family has their own dedicated financial aid counselor. Could you talk a little bit, like give a couple of examples of how a family can help us reinforce recommending their student meet with someone like you?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any specific questions about your file, we have broken down by ALPA. So according to your last name, you have a set counselor, and that's really helpful, especially so that you have someone that knows your situation, that you have a connection with, and we're absolutely willing to sit down with you and work with you to make sure that you have everything that you need.
Yeah, that's really great. Thank you for that. So, families, please encourage a student if they ever have questions or you have questions to contact that dedicated financial aid counselor because that's a really valuable resource on campus. And I'm so glad that you mentioned kind of the repository that you guys have and the big scholarship database that you maintain because it does have both institutional scholarships, which are those offered by the university, different departments, different programs, and you also have really great links to external scholarship opportunities for students too. And it provides deadlines and important information there. And you all do come do a presentation for us for first generation students on tips about essays, letters of recommendation, and when to apply, which is typically early in the spring in February, March, when some of those start opening up for those spring deadlines. So, next, just any tips that you might have for families to ensure that they are maximizing their financial aid that they have available at the institution, from everything from different types of aid to even not aid programs like loans and things of that nature. Any tips?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're completing your application, it does need to be completed every year, and it opens typically in October 1st, both the TASFA and the FAFSA. So while that seems really quick, definitely pay attention to that opening deadline because you want to get your applications in as soon as possible because some of our funding is limited and finite. So when it's out, it's out. So to maximize the amount of financial aid that you're eligible for and that you can receive, definitely get that application in before that deadline.
Yeah,
Which in
that's
January, I believe, is our deadline.
Yeah, that's correct. That's a really good tip because I know for me as a first generation student, and my mom had done her associate's degree, but we mostly paid out of pocket for that. And when I was going and, we were told when we met with financial aid, I was just a couple $100s out of receiving aid. And we were defeated and, it just increased working. I didn't know you could reapply every year. And so that's something that I wish, I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Of course you can. Your finances change, your employment status changes. So what are some other important financial aid related things that you think families specifically should know as they help their student transition this coming fall for the first semester and thinking moving forward? Like that early October deadline, it's weird to be applying in October for the next year already when you've only been here 2 months. That's real life.
Definitely is. I would say even if you think you won't receive any financial aid, to go ahead and complete those applications, because there's going to be some type of financial aid available to you. If you're FAFSA eligible, you'll still be eligible for those federal loans, even if you're not grant eligible. So go ahead and complete that application. Some of the scholarships will require that you have that application on file. So it's just a good idea to get that submitted, regardless of whether you think you're going to qualify. You also want to make sure that you're keeping your grades up. We will, we'll check your financial aid eligibility by looking at your grades and your completion at the end of every semester. And we will be sending you notifications, letting you know where you are in that process, which is another big thing. Don't ignore the emails that you're getting from our office. We send you emails with a purpose, so they're going to go to your UT Dallas email address. So definitely be checking that as well.
Yeah, that's really good, for families to reinforce the importance of staying on top of email inbox, which you and I both know can be its own full-time job. And if you've ever seen one of your student workers' email inbox, so parents, families, just know that your students' UTD email inbox will get crazy, will get crowded, will get a lot of things, but to make sure that they're checking it regularly and curating it for obviously first generation student programs. Okay, not only kidding on that one, really, because we'll send emails about a lot of different things. But if you see financial aid at or the bursar at or registrar records, those are really important pieces of communication. We want to make sure your students reading. They can also check those emails and communications from their Galaxy Center. So they have a communications tab and they have a to-do list. We call them tiles because they look like little squares on their student account. We'll try to demo that in another video for you all. But that's where a student can see important things like if, Sarah's team needs a verification, which is a process required sometimes to get financial aid applications moving. They'll put that in there too. So they'll send an email notice, but they'll also put it in the student's to-do list in what we call Galaxy, and they can see that through that tile online. So yeah, that is really important. Sorry, before I forget, also you mentioned timing a few times and how important it is to stay informed about timing. And we've already talked to families when we were speaking to Lisa Davis about, that second page of the academic calendar, payment refund deadlines and things like that. So when can families, if they have reviewed their financial award package, contacted you all if needed to answer any questions, what can they actually expect to have their funds applied and receive any refunds they might be expecting to?
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point. When you've accepted all of your financial aid, whatever you've accepted for the semester will disperse on the first day of class. So that seems a little late and kind of scary, but that's our normal process. You'll see those funds applied to your bursar's office balance on that first day of class. And if you have any excess funding that wasn't paid towards your tuition or your dorm or your meal plan, that'll get released to you that first week of school. So definitely make sure that you've set up your Easy Pay so that you can get that direct deposited and get it as soon as possible. But it'll probably be that first week, maybe even week and a half before you actually receive the funding.
Yeah, that's great. And we do have Easy Pay defined in our jargon dictionary on our website, but you can reference this presentation with your student or search it from the UTD webpage. That's the portal where you go to log in and pay your bills and set up direct deposit and stuff like that. So really helpful interface, online interface there too, because families can have a delegated role and log in for that software piece. Also, I think, I don't know, Sarah, I feel like those are the biggest things. And if she hasn't adequately conveyed it, which I think she has, look at her smiling face. Families, you all have a resource. Your student has a friendly face and a resource here on campus beyond just me and Derek. So if anything comes up financially for you and your family, you know, income changes, employment changes, you have financial emergencies, we can get you to wonderful people like her to get the assistance you need to make sure finances are not a barrier to continued enrollment and your success at UT Dallas. So please let us know in the chat if you think of anything we didn't address in this quick snippet. Otherwise, you can email us additional questions and we will get them over to our wonderful First Generation Student Support Network members and financial aid. Thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
I'm here with our bursar, which is one of those weird words you encounter in college, and your student may be like, what is this or who this when they get an email from the bursar's office. The biggest thing you need to know is that they are a critical resource for student financials and a critical resource in student success. And I have with us right now our student success liaison from the bursar's office, Lisa.
Hi, my name is Lisa Davis. I'm the manager of student accounts in the bursar office. Some of the bursar office functions that are relevant to students is that we assess, bill, and collect on all of our tuition and fees. We also collect on housing charges and the meal plan charges. We process refunds, and we also maintain the online services through our Easy Pay. And Easy Pay is going to be a place that you will need to get familiar with. That is where you will make payments. You can see your billing statement. You can set up a direct deposit. And you can also add an authorized user. So if you have someone that you want to be able to view your bill or make payments on your behalf, such as a parent or a grandparent, you can actually set them up as an authorized user. You wouldn't want to give them your login information. But that is some of the things that we can do on Easy Pay.
That's perfect. I'm so glad you explained Easy Pay because that is really important, and I think it does make it more efficient when the student gives a family member who might be helping them, supporting them, and making payment to the university. That direct access makes it go a lot smoother. That's really great. Okay, so our first question, Lisa, is an easy one. Why is it important for students and families to be familiar with the bursar's office? I think your functions explained it, but kind of in your own words, what do you think?
So our office believes it's very important for a student to understand their tuition and fees. And because of that, we notify a student a lot. So sometimes students think that we're notifying them to the point of harassment, which we hope you don't think we're harassing you, but we do send out a lot of notifications. And we do that especially around the time of our payment deadline. If you're receiving a notification from our office, again, especially around our payment deadline, it's very important that you pay attention to those notifications because we are sending those notifications to you for a reason. We would not want anything to happen to your enrollment. The deadlines that we have on our academic calendar are very, very important. We do post our deadlines on the academic calendar every semester, so it's really important that you become familiar with those deadlines. But again, we will also be notifying you of your deadline. If you're receiving those notifications, you're going to want to check with our office to see, what's going on, or if you're expecting financial aid. It may be important to reach out to financial aid, especially if you're expecting some type of financial aid, and we're notifying you about those payment deadlines.
Yeah, those are good points. We do talk a lot about the academic calendar. The payment deadlines are on the second page, and you can find those for every semester posted online from the UTD homepage. And understanding, like burning in your brain, students get a ton of emails, and making sure that your scholar is checking their email regularly and keeping an eye out for our office and important offices like the bursar's office, so that they understand that it's not just a generic mass email, that they need to go in and check and see if there's action required. As Lisa mentioned, being dropped from classes, that means if you don't make payment by a certain date that you will be removed from your classes. And that's important to know, and an important action kind of time when you do need to take action. So on that note, Lisa, are there a couple more examples that you can think of where family should reach out to the bursar office if they have a question or encounter a certain scenario?
Sure. If you ever have a question about anything you see on your billing statement, so you're going to see all different types of charges because our bills house all the charges, most of the charges for the university. So it's not just going to be your tuition and fees. Incoming students may have other fees related to specific classes. They may have their housing charges. They may have their meal plan. All of that's going to go on your bill that comes through our office. So if you ever have any questions about any of the charges that you see on there, you think something doesn't look correct, definitely reach out to us in regards to that. Also, if you have questions about extended payment options, so if you're a financial aid recipient, maybe you're not receiving enough funding, you would want to reach out to us to find out what our payment options are. We also do have that on our website, online on the Bursar website. You can always email us, give us a call. You can email us at bursar@utdallas.edu. Some of the other things, if you're having difficulty, maybe you're a self-paced student and you did take out one of our extended payment options and maybe you're not able to make the deadline, please just don't get scared to contact us. That's really important, that even if you can't pay, reach out to us. Maybe we can work with you. Maybe there's some other extended options. Just don't ignore it. Sometimes students get scared and they're like, oh, I don't want to talk to the bursar office. I owe them money, but let me just ignore that balance. You know what? We're not mean. We're here to help you. We want you to succeed. We want you to be able to continue to enroll in the university. So reach out to us. It's really important that you reach out to us if you have any questions regarding anything that's on your bill or if you have issues financially.
I think that's a really great point, Lisa, because what we want our first generation families to know is that we all collaborate to strive to make sure that students' financial needs are met and that we are kind of meeting them where they are and being supportive and accessible and available to answer all the questions that they may have. And I think your wonderful kind of overview of the bursar's office and your valuable role has been helpful in doing that. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Courtney.
Located on the fourth floor of the Student Services Building is our Student Counseling Center, which is a free service provided to every enrolled student here at UT Dallas. The Student Counseling Center collaborates with the Office of Undergraduate Education to provide streamed and recorded content every single semester. In fact, in the video description below this video, you can check out our Staying Positive video that I did earlier this year with the Student Counseling Center. Now I'd like for you to meet one of my colleagues who can talk more about the services provided. But first, I want to mention that the Student Services Building is also home to the Student Health Center, which is also a service that enrolled students can engage with. And some of the professionals here actually have the ability to write prescriptions. So with that in mind, I'd like you to meet my colleague for the Student Counseling.
Everyone, I am here with Dr. Prachi Sharma, who is the Assistant Director of the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas. Dr. Sharma, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, we appreciate it. So I just have a few questions. I talked a little bit about the Counseling Center in the lead up to this, but really want to hear from you and get some of your expertise for our incoming first generation students and their families. So the first question that I have is, could you talk a little bit about the services that are offered by the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas?
Absolutely. Thank you, Derek, so much for inviting me. And it's just such a pleasure to speak to all of you. So we have been open since the day one. We have continued to offer our mental health services through the virtual format, and we will continue to do so as we go into fall. So all of our services would be available and accessible through Microsoft Teams, because that's the platform that we use. And what the feedback we've gotten from most students is that it's been really easy and accessible to most of our students. Also, it kind of takes care of health and safety in mind as well, so you don't feel like you're exposed to somebody else, and you don't have to worry about finicky masks and things like that. So we will continue to offer virtual services. So within that, just to tell you a little bit about us, we are basically the center that provides mental health services for all enrolled students. And as long as you're taking even one credit class here, you're eligible for our services, and they're completely free and confidential. Apart from therapy services, which include individual therapy and couples therapy, we also offer wonderful groups. Our groups program is pretty robust. And within that, we also offer identity-based support group. So again, a great place for our students who might be underrepresented or come from marginalized backgrounds, have sort of like a peer network around them. And we offer these groups throughout the semester. We also have workshops that we offer, and workshop title sort of depends on semester to semester, sometimes anxiety, sometimes depression. And other ones, we have psychiatric services. So if you're wondering or have ever thought about or currently take any medications, you can meet with our psychiatry team. We also do assessments around eating disorders, substance use. We do WPATH assessments, which is for our transgender students who are considering transitioning. So lots of different services, and you can find all of that up-to-date information on our website by just going to UTD /counseling, and also we have a pretty robust presence also on our social media platforms. So you can find a lot of that up-to-date information also on our Instagram page as well as Facebook.
Awesome. And I want to emphasize to the folks watching, in addition to an abundance of resources that are available to our first generation students, the abundance of services, you talk about friendly atmosphere and just supportive atmosphere. The UTD Student Counseling Center is one of the most open, friendly, warm places on campus. So if you need anything, definitely check out the Student Counseling Center. We have heard nothing but wonderful things, and everything is so supportive, because this journey that you are about to go on, of course, it's going to have its challenges, which is exactly why the folks at the Student Counseling Center are there for you and are prepared. So thank you so much for going into that, Dr. Sharma. Really, really appreciate it. My next question has to do with our biggest supporters, our families. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on how our families can support our first generation students as they go through this journey. How can they support them, like on an emotional level and in other ways, in your opinion?
That's an excellent question, Derek. And I think a lot of our work around mental health involves families because, they're sort of part of this educational journey that first gen students are on. If you're a first time student, you're going to perhaps need some support from your families. And particularly now, given that we've gone through so many transitions and going through another transition of in-person classes, this could be a time where families can play a very pivotal role in success of their student. So one thing that, a few things that I could kind of recommend that, we've heard from parents really helps them support their student is to validate the feelings. So it's pretty normal. Some of us have had to go back to offices. For students, it could be maybe the first time they're sort of entering back in in-person classes after a long time. And for some of us, it is a big change because we are still in the middle of a pandemic. So please, if you can, just, validate that if there's some anxiety and stress around going back to campus and attending in-person classes, it's pretty normal reaction to any kind of big change to feel that level of stress. You can also support your student by sort of encouraging them to connect with campus resources. We have some wonderful student organizations and a lot of student support services, such as the Counseling Center. So definitely encourage them, check in on your student, ask them how they're doing with their mental health, and encourage them to connect with our center. And just to give a little plug, we do offer a first gen support group for our students. So then that's just like a very special place that we have, offer virtually just for students who are first gen and attending UTD for the first time. So again, we do have resources and services. So it just helps your student get into a new routine, because all of this is what it has done is really disrupted a lot of our routines. So definitely encourage them to get connected, build a social network around them, get engaged with campus so that they can get this full sense of being a college student. Also, in another way that you can support the new routine could be to give them some support around their studies. So just if you can physically create a space, or even in the routine create a space, so that the adjustment from going from completely like not having any in-person classes to having in-person classes, or maybe some students might still be taking some hybrid version, you're kind of really sort of supporting that new transition, setting up a new routine, supporting their studies, and you can kind of really see and see our students sort of thrive in that environment. The more structure that they get, the more routine that they set for themselves, the more successful they would be.
Wonderful. That is such great advice. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that with our incoming first generation students and our families. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma. We really appreciate it. And audience, you have seen a friendly face ready to support you via the Student Counseling Center here at UT Dallas. Thank you so very much for joining us. And I look forward to collaborating with you as we get into the school year.
Thank you so much, and welcome to UTD. We're so excited to have you.
So at this point in the program, you've probably been sitting for a while, so how about we take a few moments to kind of just stretch, maybe grab a drink. It is warm here in North Texas. Did I mention that UT Dallas has a Taco Bell? So when you get here and it's hot, come inside, grab a freeze. We'll be right back. Probably one of the most important first people that you will meet when you arrive to UT Dallas is your academic advisor. I'm here in front of the Behavioral and Brain Sciences Academic Advising Center. It's kind of a homecoming for me because as a BBS student, I was here often with meeting with my advisor, who I still am in contact with today. I want you to meet several of my colleagues who are academic advisors who will share their pro tips and expand a little bit on what academic advising is.
Hi, my name is Sydney Taylor, and I'm an academic advisor for the School of Arts and Humanities.
Well, hello, Comets. My name is Sheila Rollerson, and I work with the School of Economic, Political, and Policy Sciences, better known as EPS. Welcome.
My name is Kevin Jackson, Most people just call me Mr. KJ on campus, that is, and I work in the Behavioral and Brain Science Department.
Hi, my name is Sydney Watucky, and I am an advisor with the School of Interdisciplinary Studies. Academic advising is going to be that link in between you as a student and the university. So all of the jargony stuff sometimes you encounter as a college student where you're trying to figure out the rules and the processes and how things work and what classes look like. We're here to kind of be that interpreter. We're here to make sure you understand what you're doing. You always feel confident in what you're doing. You're not just kind of allowing college to happen to you. And you know, we're here to make it an enjoyable, a productive, and a really memorable experience for you.
Academic advising is a support system that helps students go from first day of orientation all the way to graduation. A place to go to ask your questions and figure out what direction you want to go in life and what kind of classes that you need to take to get there.
We are here to help navigate you through this thing called college, with the end result being graduation. So we're here as a resource tool to help you reach your goals, help you reach whatever ambitions, aspirations that you have. We would like for you to come and visit us, but if you don't visit us, we will be reaching out to you. So just look for an email at your UTD email, and because we want to get to know you.
Academic advising, to me, in my own words, is to getting a student to go above and beyond their wildest thoughts of being a collegiate, I want to say athletics because my background is athlete so much, but an academic student, all right? But being both not only successful in the classroom, but it's successful, you know, outside the classroom in life as well. So that is the definition of advising, going above and beyond just academics, but let me tackle you life-wise as well.
Ask questions about everything. When I was a first-generation student, I had no idea the kinds of resources that a university could provide because I didn't know they were out there. And it wasn't until I really started getting involved that I realized that they are there, and I never would have known unless I asked or I reached out to someone. And so that's my big pro tip, is to just ask every question that comes across your mind.
Well, me being a first gen myself, number one thing I learned the hard way is I cannot be scared to ask questions. I can't be scared to network, you know, which very hard to do. It's always easier said than done, especially, you know, things happen in your life, you put off on people. But hey, when I got over that, I skyrocketed in the classroom. Then obviously I finished and went on to do some great and big things. But that's like my biggest thing. Like, don't be scared. Just go and jump in there.
Leave time in your schedule for other things in college, like making friends and sleeping and eating green things that aren't Skittles. Give yourself time to experience and enjoy college rather than just ramping through it as fast as possible. If I can tack on an additional pro tip, if you're having problems, if you're struggling in a class, if you didn't understand an assignment, if you got done with a lesson and have no idea what that lesson was about, ask your instructor. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you do well. They want to feel like you understood the material that they were giving you. But if you are struggling in silence, they have no way to try to help you. They don't know that you need help. So if you're having trouble in a class, let your instructor know, because probably they want to help you.
There are multiple resources on UTD campus, and we want to connect you with as many as we can that will help navigate you through this thing called college. Now, I was a first generation student myself. I wished I had the tools that you guys have right now, because please, please, please try and take advantage. Come and see me. Come and see my other advisors in the School of Apps. We are here to help you.
You know, as an advisor, I a lot of times get to be with students from the beginning all the way to the end of college. You know, I think if you're an instructor, you kind of sometimes just get to see little bits and pieces of students' progress through their degree, and you know, you get to see their growth in a class, but you don't necessarily see their growth all the way through the program. And it is so cool for me to have students come in as freshmen or as brand new transfer students, and I get to watch them all the way through until graduation, and I get to watch them become more confident and more sure in what they're doing, and I get to watch them form these ideas of what their future is going to be and have these amazing ideas of things that they are going to do when they finish up with college. And it is the coolest thing to watch that process all the way through. And as an advisor, I get to do that, which is awesome.
Watching the students as they come in as not so sure freshmen, not so sure how to navigate, you know, this thing called college, and then watching them mature into upperclassmen, and finally as very confident graduating seniors. So I just enjoy watching that metamorphosis of them unfolding, and knowing that I played just a very, very small part behind the scenes in it.
Getting to watch students develop. You know, I see them come in at orientation, and then I get to see them blossom and figure out what they love to study and where they want to go. And to just watch that change occur, and then to see them at graduation, it's a really proud moment.
When I can get a student to take that look to a smile and a confidence that just builds and just collects on top of probably the most highest confident hill that you could ever see or ever imagine. Like, that's like my biggest and favorite thing, to go from here low and you go on top of that mountain and help a student do that and be successful in their life, again, beyond their wildest dreams. That is like the biggest thing for me.
We also have specialized advising here provided by the Office of Undergraduate Education. You know, we have a lot of our first generation students who declare majors that are pre-med with the intention to go to medical, PA, dental, optometry, and other schools post-graduation in the medical field. I'd like to introduce you to the Health Professionals Advising Center, otherwise known as HPAC, where our pre-med students receive specialized advising as they move through their undergraduate career and into their post-graduation school of choice. I want to introduce you to my colleague now, Shirley Anderson, the Assistant Director of HPAC and Pre-Health Advisor.
So, Shirley, if you wouldn't mind telling the audience a little bit about the services offered with HPAC.
So let me start by saying, what does HPAC stand for? Health Professions Advising Center. As a pre-health student, you're going to hear so many acronyms, so don't feel like you should be overwhelmed by it. We'll post all that information on our website. So my role with HPAC, I am the Assistant Director, and we assist any students. Think of us kind of like your career guidance piece of your academic journey. If you are planning to go to a health profession school, be it medical school, dental, physical therapy, pharmacy, we'll be able to guide you along your path, which is different than your academic advisor who guides you along your degree planning. So we really pride ourselves on being accessible. Yes, the numbers of pre-health students are increasing, but we're definitely still trying to be approachable via email, via appointments. I think the very first communication with a pre-health advisor in any of those forms should be when you enter UTD. In your first semester, it is pretty straightforward for the vast majority of the population to take General Chemistry 1 and the next higher math that you can take. Beyond that, you'll plan out the rest of your first semester with your academic advisor. But there's people in different situations. Like if you bring in a lot of AP credits, you might have a question about that for us. If you brought in dual credits, if you are a transfer student and you're bringing in actual college credits. So those types of situations might warrant a email to an advisor just to see if you're on track and what the next step would be. So I think it's as easy as that. I've heard from students that it can be daunting to talk to us. They want to have the perfect set of questions, but I think almost every time I talk to a student, it's what is my next logical step? What should I be doing next to advance my progress as a pre-health student? So whenever you feel ready, contact us on our website. We have a way to schedule an appointment, and that might change slightly as we go back in person. So if you're watching this deep into the fall, I don't know, Derek, if that's going to happen. Just know that the process might change. So since we're on here, I'll go ahead and give a quick overview so that we're not panning back and forth of how to use our HPAC website. This is the current view of it. Highly, highly recommend joining our mailing list. That should be one of the first steps. By doing so, you'll be signed up to receive emails from pre-health. We send out a range of emails, but most importantly, we use it to get out communications of the application process that we offer. So if you're incoming freshman, that won't be for about 3 years, but you can start seeing what kinds of communications we're sending out about that. Occasionally, we send out like job opportunities or shadowing, things like that. But do note that we don't typically serve as a central hub of dispersing opportunities. That is a conversation probably for a later time. Here, book an appointment, and this was the main thing I wanted to get to. By using bookings, you'll be able to select different options depending on if you're a prospective student, a current student, or an alum. And it'll show you which days we'll have available once you pan over. Do note that this system will take you to a random pre-health advisor, random as in still within our office. But if you were looking to make a specific appointment with someone, like let's say the director of HPAC, you may want to email that individual to get their link for it. The pre-health starter kit is so helpful for anyone entering UTD. I've got it loaded on this tab so it doesn't have to buffer. So anything that you might have common questions about, like a full list of classes for pre-health students, credits that you bring in, there's a flow chart that you could go through and kind of answer, do I use my AP exam of world history with a 5? Well, it'll tell you if it's not a science, yeah, most likely go ahead and accept it, and so on. So you can use this chart to kind of decide how to navigate that. On our HPAC website, we also have a contact page for each of the advisors. Okay, so here's our contact page. You can kind of read our bios and our backgrounds, but also grab our email addresses from here. My recommendation is to not send an email to all of the advisors. You could just contact one, and that individual should be able to respond to you accordingly.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Shirley. We really appreciate it. I just have a couple more questions for you. Our families, the ones who support us the most, play such an important role in our student success. I know that you and I can speak from personal experience with that, having been in those shoes before. What advice or comments do you have for how families can support our students through their use of resources like HPAC? Because we know there are parents in the audience who are watching who are already so proud of their students. Everyone in the audience are so proud of their students and want to be able to support. How can families do that?
Yeah, we're both first-gen students ourselves, so it certainly is an experience. I think I often ask first-gen students what their experience navigating college looked like, and these are students, 3-4 years down the road or into medical school. So it can be done. It absolutely can be done. I think it's important for the student to take initiative to contact us. We do at times have parents reach out, which is okay, but I think it's definitely a skill to build to help the students understand like what resources are on campus, what questions to ask. It really is an important, I think, attribute. The pre-health journey is daunting. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. Having family as your support system more than anything is so critical. So it doesn't have to have anything to do with, my parents didn't go to medical school or I don't know anyone in this field. It's more like when you're really struggling with OCHEM, can you call home wherever and whoever that is and get that support, that emotional support of like, you can do this, because you can. There's so many different paths to get to the end goal, but having some good people behind you is so helpful. So that would be my suggestion.
100%. And families, you can feel empowered knowing that you also have seen the HPAC website, you've seen our Student Success Center, you are now in possession of resources to guide your student to those resources if and when you get that call. And it's just important to make sure that we empower our families to know like what resources are available. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Shirley, and look forward to you meeting with our first generation students.
Yeah, so excited. Thank you for letting us introduce our services, and we're excited to meet the students. We're excited to hear about your families as well and your goals. So looking forward to it.
In addition to pre-med, many of our first generation students also are pre-law. Right down the hall from the Pre-Health Advising Center is our Pre-Law Advising Center, where first generation students can receive specialized advising for moving through your undergraduate career and into law school. I now like to introduce you to another one of my colleagues, Dr. Barbara Kirby, the director of the Pre-Law Advising Center here at UT Dallas, who has some great words of support and tips for our pre-law first generation comments.
I am here with Dr. Barbara Kirby of the Pre-Law Advising Center. Thank you so much for joining us for this segment. Barbara, welcome to First Generation Family Orientation. If you would please tell the audience a little bit about the services offered for pre-law advising.
Thank you, Derek. I'd be happy to do that. The Pre-Law Advising Center at UT Dallas is open to students of every major on the campus, because one of the great things about law school is they want you to soak up your undergraduate experience in whichever area it is that is the most interesting for you to gain knowledge and to have as a background for law school. And so we have political science majors, we have math majors, we have biology and business majors, and so we are open to everyone, and we provide assistance in everything having to do with your law school application. So getting together your letters of recommendation, your resume, your personal statement, assisting with timing and getting prepared for taking the law school admissions test, the LSAT. Also figuring out if law is what you want. So we have a lot of different programs where attorneys in different areas of practice come to speak to our students. We also have law school admissions folks from all of the schools in the region, but also access to virtual information about, your top 14 law schools. So all purpose, everything you can think of that you might want to know about the whole law school admissions process. We also have available extracurricular activities like our John Marshall Pre-Law Society, our organization that is Women Pursuing Law. We have moot court, mock trial, Innocence Project, all manner of ways to engage as you are thinking about the legal profession.
I love it. It's an all-in-one resource for our first-generation students and first-generation professionals to engage with the office and get that top-of-the-line resource and advising for our first-gen students who will be thinking about pursuing law school post-graduation. I love it. So a question that comes up often is, if I just got to UT Dallas and I know I have an inkling that I want to pursue law school, how soon should I be engaging with the pre-law advising office, coming to meet with you guys?
The great thing is, my answer is right away. And I think mainly it's because if you come in as a freshman and you think maybe what you want to do is the law, the whole point of your undergraduate education is to get it figured out, right? And so we want you to come and talk to us, ask the questions, all of the things you don't know about law school or the legal profession, so we can answer them right away. We're going to start off this year on September 8th. We are having our pre-law kickoff, and hopefully we're having it on campus in the atrium. And so I like to bring in everybody new at that point in time. We'll have some great swag, and you can start engaging with the other people who are interested in going to law school. And as you know, Derek, especially with your organization and with mine, it's not just about me and you, it's about your colleagues, your cohort. And I want to address transfers too. What I always say to transfers is objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. You come in as a transfer and you've got a couple of years to wrap everything up. You should come see me as soon as possible if you're a transfer.
I'd like to ask or get your thoughts on the collaboration between the students, us here at UT Dallas, and the families of the students. Our families play such a critical role in the success of our undergraduate careers and beyond. So in your opinion, how can families of our first generation students encourage the use of resources like the Pre-Law Advising Center?
I think the important thing is for the families to understand that it is a process that is going on through the entire time that students are at UTD. One of the things that we see with a lot of our first generation students is that they wait. They don't know that you get law school applications in early. And so they might look at the deadline and say, oh, I've got until then. It's like, no, it's rolling admission. So it still is a great benefit to you to get your application in early. So for parents to know and family to know that they need to be saying, this is a process. You need to be involved in it all of the time. You don't just wait until you're about to graduate to get involved. And the other thing that I always say to the students, and I want the parents to know this, there's absolutely no reason to go it alone. Some people think, oh, I can put together I know how to write a person. No, you don't go it alone. I have so much contact in the law school community. And I think that's something that maybe people don't understand, is that me as a pre-law advisor, it means I'm connected to the law school community. Our pre-health advisors are connected to the medical school and nursing school and dental school communities. So it's more than just somebody giving you advice. It's somebody who's plugged in. And I mean, that's what I want them to know. I am plugged in to law school admissions. And so don't go it alone. Get my expertise early and often.
That is a major key. I love it. That's something that we definitely want to emphasize, that we are all in this together and we are deeply connected. So use us. That's
Yes.
what we would like to take away from this. Well, Dr. Kirby, thank you so much for offering your insights. And we will definitely be encouraging our first generation pre-law students to come visit the Pre-Law Advising Center. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Can't wait to meet them.
Welcome everybody to the basement of the Eugene McDermott Library, home to the Student Success Center, your hub for everything related to academic success and support here at UT Dallas. I love the Student Success Center, and let me give you a tip right now. Derek's pro tip: engage with the Student Success Center as early as you can. A mistake I made was waiting until my sophomore year, a million years ago, before I utilized this resource. It is such a great resource, but hey, listen, don't just take my word for it. I sat down with Mike Sines and Mallory Maddock of the Student Success Center to get their thoughts on how awesome this service is.
Mike, Mallory, thank you so much for joining us for First Generation Family Orientation. How are y'all doing?
Doing well.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you both so much for sitting down with us today. If you would just describe a little bit about the services offered at the Student Success Center.
Yeah, great question. So we kind of have our different elements of which we're working under. So I'm going to be talking about our peer education programs, mainly our peer-led team learning program and our supplemental instruction program. Both are very student-led and student-involved. So that's a great way to get involved on campus while at the same time kind of working on your studies and kind of meeting different people in your class to kind of help reinforce those ideas that you learn, but also ask any questions that you may not feel comfortable doing in class and kind of getting that feedback from a peer leader, but also your classmates as well. And so we also have academic success coaching, which is a program in which you are able to meet one-on-one with an academic success coach to kind of help you build out personal strategies that will help enhance your learning. So we kind of figure out where you are and where you want to be, and then any interventions that can help bridge that gap. So that's a little bit about my programs.
So I will talk a little bit about the peer tutoring side of the SSC. I oversee the Com Lab and the Writing Center. So those services are available to all students on campus, regardless of what course they're in. They can come in and get help with writing a paper, a personal statement, a scholarship essay. And then in the Com Lab, students can get help with any presentation or speaking assignment they have in a class. We also have peer tutoring, which helps students one-on-one in a big lab environment with math, science, physics, all kinds of courses. They offer exam reviews, weekly reviews. So a lot of different opportunities for students to seek help. We also have in the SSC every summer and sometimes in winter, success camps. And, you know, this summer we're offering online workshops for the series. And it's for incoming freshmen for the most part to work with faculty on campus, to work with our content specialists in the SSC, and just sharpen their skills a bit before they jump into classes at the start of the semester. And we offer chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, calculus, as well as College 101. And the College 101 workshop series just kind of helps students get set up and familiar with what to expect in their college coursework.
You know, throughout this presentation today, I've been sprinkling in a little bit of my own experiences as a first generation student here at UT Dallas. And one of the things that I wish that I took advantage of early on was the Student Success Center. I think I took my first steps into the Student Success Center probably my second semester of my sophomore year, and I definitely had this feeling of I've been missing out. Yeah, so my next question for both of you is, why is it important for our students to get involved early with the Student Success Center and seek out those resources?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll take that one. It's basically one of our mottos at the Success Center is to be proactive with your education versus reactive. And some of the things like talk about is like when you break a bone, you go to the emergency room. We're not really in the emergency room field here. We're more in the preventative care. So think of us as more like your athletic trainers that kind of strengthen your muscles so you don't tear your ligaments or break your bones. So what we try and do is work on that proactive approach and kind of see where we can help intervene before the midterms or the exams, the final exams, and then you're kind of in a place where a hole you have to dig out of, as opposed to making sure there's no holes and you're walking straight through on your academic career. So that's kind of why we want to reach out early, get involved early, so you can kind of find your place. We have something that works for everyone. Sometimes group collaboration isn't everyone's forte, so we have individual appointments, and sometimes individual appointments aren't people's forte, so we have group workshops and things like that. So really just getting involved early and finding what works best for you so you can have that preventative care as opposed to coming in late night in the ER once you break your ankle.
We are very happy to be here with our families who are watching. And so our next question is, how can families of our first generation Comets encourage their student to seek out these resources? What, in your opinion, what role do families play?
Yeah, that's a great question, Derek. So as Mike mentioned earlier with our academic success coaching program, we really stress the importance of time management. So encouraging your student to make a visit to the Student Success Center as part of their regular routine can be really helpful. So just like attending class, going to club meetings, hitting UREC to, exercise, the SSC should really be part of the weekly routine. So establish it early, get it in your planner, check out, registering for PLTL early, or see when the SI sessions are being held. Just knowing the hours that the peer tutoring lab is open, or when workshops or weekly reviews are being held. And encouraging your student to put that in the weekly planner, so it is just a meeting that is not missable, and support them, and make sure they know it's okay to use resources. That tutoring is cool at UTD, because it really is.
Yes, it is 100%. I really appreciate those tips. I really do. Do you either of you have anything else you want to add? Can we find you on social media?
Yes, we are on Instagram at UTDSSC. We keep, students in the campus community up to date on workshops when we open, anything exciting. We feature some of our peer leaders, so students can get the opportunity to get to know, the students that work for us a little bit more.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. First Generation Comets and families, you are a part of this journey, and we definitely encourage you to get to know Mike and to get to know Mallory here at the Student Success Center at UT Dallas, and we look forward to working with you all. Mike, Mallory, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Also located in the basement of the library is our Common Sense Money Management Center, which offers mentoring and support for all things money management for first generation students, and the Comet Cupboard, UT Dallas's very own food pantry. I'd like to introduce you now to two more of my colleagues, Hillary Campbell and Whitney Vela, who can talk more about both Common Sense and the Comet Cupboard, two awesome services.
Hey everyone, so I'm here with my colleagues Hillary Campbell and Whitney Vela. Fun fact, when I was a freshman at UT Dallas in 2012, I was in the office of a finance professor who was brainstorming this idea about money management and budgeting tips for students. and he came across the name Common Sense, and he asked me, what do you think about that? And I was like, it rolls right off the tongue. And the rest is history. That was in 2012, and here we are a little, like, almost a decade later. So we'll start with the cupboard. Hillary, thank you so much for joining us today for First Generation Family Orientation. If you would please just tell us a little bit about the services that are offered at the Comet Cupboard.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me, Derek. I'm really excited about this opportunity to communicate with our first gen families. I did not know that story from 2012 and Comet Sense, so that's a fun one to hear, and I think also a good segue into the Comet Cupboard, because the Comet Cupboard also started in 2012. That's when we kicked things off. The Comet Cupboard is our on-campus food pantry at UT Dallas. It's available to all currently enrolled students, and we offer services year-round. The service was also, this is another fun fact, the first university food pantry established in the state of Texas. So we're very proud of that. We kicked off that trend, and it's a good trend. We're happy to see that reflected in institutions kind of all over the state, that they followed in our footsteps there. So we, year-round, even during the pandemic, we operated fully during the pandemic. We offer food. We offer personal care supplies, toiletries, that type of thing. We offer some household goods to, like I said earlier, all currently enrolled students at UTD. We had limited services during the pandemic, but we're opening back up to more of our normal operations as soon as the fall semester starts. So we provide those services for students, but we also provide a really good volunteer service opportunity for our undergraduate students. So it's one of the very few opportunities for students to volunteer and serve their peers on the physical campus. Makes it very convenient for those who are living on campus or who don't necessarily have easy access to transportation. It's kind of right there. Again, in the fall, we'll be back to normal operations, so we'll be open every day, giving students the opportunity to serve their peers every day. So it's got a dual role. The most important thing is just being aware that the service exists. We are fairly accessible. We're located in the ground floor or the basement level of the university library, the McDermott Library. And I think it's important that families just know that this service is available. We believe, and we can see this backed by research, a student can't learn if they're hungry, and a student can't learn if they're worried about being hungry. So if food insecurity factors in, flashes through a student's mind even temporarily, that can compromise their academic outcomes. And that's why we're there. We don't want a student to have to choose between books or attending a study session or completing an assignment and food. Food insecurity can look different with people, right? There's no kind of poster child, so to speak, for food insecurity, particularly on a college campus. All you need is your student ID and to be enrolled in classes, and that's it. We don't ask any other questions. We don't do any needs assessment beyond that. We just offer this service to all currently enrolled students. Just show up with your Comet card. So letting parents know that that this is very accessible, I think, is probably the best tool for them. I want to say that we are on social media. So we're most active on Instagram. We do all types of things over there. So if you want to find out really what we're up to prior to a student arriving at UTD, or maybe in lieu of an actual physical visit to the facility, I would definitely check things out on Instagram. We've got all kinds of videos there, training videos for volunteers. We have cooking demonstrations. We have contests. We do polls. We do lots of infographics to talk about awareness of college food insecurity and how it affects academic outcomes for students. So we're super active there. I would say that that's kind of our best digital footprint of the program. And then if you want to dig a little bit deeper, go to our website. So that's very accessible, Comet Cupboard at UT Dallas. Can find us over on our website. That's got some updated information as well, and it dives a little bit more deeply into our day-to-day processes. Also provides the opportunity for a student who wants to volunteer in the cupboard to do that as well.
That is fantastic. We have the Common Sense program here at UT Dallas, and it is a great program that's been around for nearly 10 years as well. And here we have Whitney. And so Whitney if you would like to just tell us a little bit about the Common Sense program here at UT Dallas.
Well, thank you so much, Derek. And that was a great introduction to the Comet Sense program and a great little bit of history. So let me tell you a little bit more. The Comet Sense program is our money management center on campus. It's a free service to any student, which is another great thing, just like Hillary was talking about. So in our offices, we have a couple different ways that we're working with students. We have where we can meet with students individually and talk about where they're at in their financial journey, whether that is at the beginning aspect of, this is the first time I've ever managed my money and what do I do with it? Whether that is their financial journey of where they want to go. They just got their first job and planning for what those next steps are. So we take that really to heart and want to make sure that students are here and learn those skills all along the way. So we love that students are interested and want to come in and talk about that stuff. We also offer workshops to students. So you may see us for the very first time in your freshman seminar class. That's a great segue to be able to have an introduction to a little bit about what we do and just in a fun, interactive way about learning financial literacy. We also do some other services where we have a program called our Smart About Money series. And that is an awesome program where we have a small cohort that follows a 5-week workshop series. And we do this a couple times a semester. And it's a great opportunity for students really to kind of bond together and learn a little bit deeper about some of those financial literacy skills. And at the end of that, they receive a certificate and a great way to add something to their resume. So with that, we have also kind of taken that next step and want students to kind of go a little bit further and dig a little bit deeper into their financial literacy. We have lots of online programming where students can interact with different modules and different aspects of financial literacy, maybe things beyond the classroom of what we've taught them, or even ways to enhance and utilize some of those skills that we've already encouraged them to learn about. And then additionally, so kind of on a side note, something a little bit fun, maybe our students, just like our first gen students, are in an LLC. And maybe they want us to come specifically talk about something that's going on. And, you know, for the very first time, they're learning about credit cards, how these work. And or some students are really eager and want to learn about investing and or other topics, other financial literacy topics, or just a big broad spectrum. So this is an opportunity where students can come and ask us, or student groups or clubs or faculty and staff can come ask our office to have some of our services come and be presented to those groups. And this is a great opportunity that we really enjoy and can really customize those presentations specifically to the needs of our students. So not only is this something that we enjoy doing, but it's also something that we can really feel like we can kind of fit and mold something that will be beneficial to each individual group. We have students that now that we have virtual aspects, we have students where they can make a virtual appointment and they can meet with us, you know, if that's a little bit more convenient for you, or if you commute and it's just really hard to navigate finding an appointment in your time of work and school and all of the other things that life has going on. Know that that's something that we'd be willing to work with you on that and find an appointment that works for you.
Finally, where can we find you on social media and or other parts of the internet?
Yeah, thanks for asking. We also are housed on Facebook and on Instagram. Instagram probably have the most, active in social media preference. We will have all kinds of things like Hillary was mentioning too, you know, from whether it is information about contests that are going on or updates or sign up links for different events we have going on, workshops that are happening, all kinds of active information that's happening on campus. That's going to be where you can find all of that. And in addition, something I forgot to mention earlier is our students have also created a podcast where they provide financial literacy topics, tips, and references. So know that on any social media, on any podcast channel that you're using, Spotify, etc., know that you can find us there. And we're under Comet-Sense, and our podcast is widely used and heard, and just a little bit of fun. You know, our students have a great time recording that and being able to share their information with other students. And there's even one coming out very soon for first gen students. So we're excited, and we hope that we can share that link with you. And I know Derek will provide that as well. So So social media for sure, Instagram, on Spotify, and like I said, other channels for our podcast. And then, of course, generalized information, hours, that type of thing will also be on our Comet Sense website through the university.
I love it. Thank you both so much for taking the time to join us today. Really appreciate it. And students, families, the Comet Cupboard and Comet Sense are here to support you and your growth here at UT Dallas. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know that saying, you say the best for last? Well, I've got two more colleagues that I would like you to meet, Mary Jane Partain and Megan Reeder with the Living Learning Communities here at UT Dallas. Mary Jane and Megan are two of our closest partners here with First Generation Student Programs, and we want you to hear from them about their position here at UT Dallas and how they assist our First Generation students and families on their academic journey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mary Jane Suarez Partain, and I am the Director of Living Learning. Welcome. I'd like to introduce you to Megan.
Hi, I'm Megan Reeder, and I'm the Assistant Director of Living Learning Communities. We want to talk to you about how we serve First Generation students and resources we provide. We serve First Generation students through our First Generation Living Learning Community. Through this community, we help connect students to mentors who are also First Generation, as well as provide programming through the LLC that is in the evening or in the morning, a lot of times around their class schedules, connecting the students to the resources on campus.
And you, as a family member, have a really important role in supporting your student staff member. You should have received a booklet, a First Generation guidebook. That's got a lot of resources in it, and I would definitely point you back to that. If you don't have it yet, you should be getting it soon. And if you need a Spanish version of it, we have it online, and we'll go ahead and have Courtney or Derek drop that link in the chat so that you have it. So you can have a hard copy or you can get a virtual copy online. That guidebook lets you know who does what. It helps you understand what offices are on campus and who can be a resource to your student and to you. The biggest thing that you can do is be a champion for your student and really support them and let them know, even when they become overwhelmed, there are people on campus that are here to help them. It is our pleasure to do so. As First Generation folks ourselves, we know how difficult it can be to navigate things, but support them, point them to the resources that you'll find in the guidebook, and let them know, stay, do your best. You're going to be awesome. It's going to be fine. I think that's probably one of the most important things that we can tell our students is, you're going to have to work through these issues. It's not going to be perfect. It might be a little bit bumpy, but you are here because you are smart and you are worthy and you are going to do awesome.
And be sure to check out our social media. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube by just searching UT Dallas Living Learning Communities. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram with the handle UTDLLC. If you check out our social media, we put a lot of tips and connections to resources on there that can benefit both you and your student.
And throughout the semester, we'll advertise our events there. And so you'll see some tips and tricks for your students. You can point them towards events and you can kind of keep dialed into the conversation, mom and dad, so that you know what's going on with your students. So we are here to be helpful and to be a resource for you and your student. We're so glad that your student has selected to be a part of the UT Dallas family, and we can't wait for them to get here.
Welcome.
Now, you've heard from several of my colleagues about the various departments and functions that they serve for our First Generation Comets, but I want to introduce you to our First Generation Student Leadership Team. I sat down with a few members of our leadership team to share their thoughts about why student engagement is so important as a First Generation Comet here at UT Dallas. Check it out.
Hello, everybody, and now I have the privilege of being joined by a few members of our First Generation Student Leadership Team. Thank you all for joining us here for First Generation Family Orientation. If you all would please introduce yourself to the audience and let us know what you're studying.
Hi, my name is Ifeanyi Gani. I am a rising senior here at UTD, and I'm studying Information Technology and Systems, so it's a JSOM major.
Hi everyone, my name is Chen Kian Zhou. Another rising senior majoring in finance.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Huan and I am a currently pre-med student in a healthcare studies major.
Personally, I think the best way to get involved on campus is joining student organizations. because that joining student organization will lead you to both interacting with students in your own and also volunteering as well, because orgs also do volunteer work as well, and that's also very important in college. So I think when students come into UT, the first thing I think they need to do is find an organization that they really enjoy, and then they should try and join that, and then from there on, kind of navigate your way through the friendships and mentorships they make in that organization.
Whether it's a small club or it's a big organization, it doesn't really matter. As long as you can join some of the clubs in your interests, you can find more people that share the same interests with you. And then that way you can increase your social interaction as you go back to campus in person now. So yeah, in my opinion, joining club will be a good choice.
On top of joining all of the other organizations that share the same interests with you, you can also make connections and friends from your classmates. And oftentimes you will be able to find like a good group where you guys share the same interest. They're going to start sharing all of the other resources that you have for student engagement on campus, all of the useful informations out there that you may need for your personal development or even for your academics. So definitely, that is a good way to join that.
Absolutely. And our student leaders here mentioned student organizations, and we got some great news for our incoming first generation comments. The First Generation Student Organization is already your home as soon as you make it here to UT Dallas. The student organization will be hosting a variety of engagement events all throughout the academic year to welcome our first generation comments onto campus, keep you all engaged, and just celebrate our first generation identity and increase our visibility on campus. We want the whole campus to know who the first generation comments are. And finally, in your opinion, what is a great way for our first generation families who are such a big part of our academic journey here and such huge supporters of us? What's a good way for our families to encourage academic social engagement here at UT Dallas?
So I'll speak as someone who has never had a car all 4 years at UTD. And I feel like as UTD is a commuter school, not having a solid mode of transportation is a very unique perspective to have. And I say that because if a student doesn't have those kinds of mode of transportation, then you're very limited in how social or how engaged they can be on campus, especially because UTD as a community school is more active during the evenings, right? And students who need to get home oftentimes can't do that. And so parents, siblings, family members in general need to be more supportive by like asking students, what clubs are you in? What orgs are you in? Do you need a ride to and from there? Or understanding that now that they're in college as well, there are more obligations outside of just going to school and coming back home. They now also have to keep in mind both for like their growth and also their resume, if you want to say that they have to also join organizations and clubs, they have to volunteer. And so I'm like, well, why is my daughter or my son spending so much time at school when they can be at home doing this or that, or helping around the house? But for them to understand that doing those social activities outside of the house in school is also helpful in growing your child and like a full-fledged college adult as well. So I think that's the best way to understand and approach that mindset.
I think as students going to college now, they are away from home. Sometimes they feel lonely. I think I highly encourage all the families can keep checking on them and just see how they are doing in school and how's everything else going. Just keeping a check on them and then see how they react. Sometimes giving some advice and guidance is important.
Yeah, that is completely true because once we start as like first gen, and especially there are some freshmen that back then also first gen coming to UTD, and we went online completely back then in COVID. It was so intimidating because you don't know the professors, you don't know anyone at all. So having a supportive families are super, super important. On top of like families can also check back on their, kids. I guess cousins, relatives, anyone that share the same interests with you, like going to school, like we can always check back on each other and see, hey, how is it going? And just, keep the children keep on being motivated with all of the things that they always want to do so far.
excellent advice all around. Thank you all so much for taking the time to engage with our incoming first generation Comets and their families. We really appreciate it. To the audience, we will be waiting for you when you arrive here to UT Dallas. We can't wait to meet you and engage with you, and we are ready to share this adventure with you. We are in your corner.
On behalf of all of my colleagues and supporters and the first generation student leadership team, we want to thank you for joining us for our First Generation Family Orientation 2021. Now we're going to hang around for about 10 minutes or so in the chat here on YouTube to answer any of your questions that you may have and engage and meet with us here on YouTube. We cannot wait to see you here in person this fall. Welcome to UT Dallas and welcome to the Comet family. Before you go, hit that subscribe button because this is just the beginning. We are just getting started here on the First Generation Comets YouTube channel, and we can't wait to share more. So hit that subscribe button, click on the bell to enable notifications, and we will see you here on campus. Have a great day, everybody.